Background: shutdown, layoffs, and legal challenge. The shutdown and layoff notices. On October 1, 2025, a funding lapse triggered a partial federal government shutdown in the U.S. Amid the shutdown, the Trump administration began issuing layoff notices to more than 4,100 federal employees across 8 agencies. The agencies affected included Commerce, Education, Energy, the Environmental Protection Agency, Health and Human Services, Housing and Urban Development, Homeland Security, and Treasury. The administration's rationale: to use the shutdown as leverage in negotiations, to exert political pressure, and to shrink government bureaucracy. Officials claimed that the layoffs were a snapshot, and that more cuts might follow, possibly exceeding 10,000 workers. Legal pushback by unions. Several federal employee unions, notably the American Federation of Government Employees (AFGE), filed suit asking the court to block the layoffs. Their arguments centered on 1. Unlawful motive: political retribution. The layoffs were being used as a political tool, targeting Democrat-favored programs. 2. Exceeding executive authority. Mass cuts of this nature could require congressional authorization or violate governing statutes. 3. Procedural deficiencies: lack of due process. Many affected workers could not even access emails, and human resources capacity was unavailable during the shutdown to manage terminations properly. The ruling. Judge Ilston's restraining order. On October 15, 2025, U.S. District Judge Susan Ilston, Northern District of California, granted a temporary restraining order that halts the administration from carrying out the layoffs, at least for now. Key findings and rationale. 1. Evidence of likely illegality, excessive authority. Judge Ilston expressed doubt about whether the administration had legal authority to impose such sweeping cuts under the circumstances, and she found the plaintiff unions had shown a likelihood of success on the merits. 2. Political motivation concerns. She pointed to statements by the administration, e.g. targeting Democrat agencies, as evidence of political motive, which is not allowed under law. 3. Human cost and procedural neglect. The judge was critical of how the cuts were being implemented out of haste, ready, fire, aim, and noted significant human consequences tied to the abrupt termination of services and livelihoods. She observed that affected employees might be unable to even receive proper notice or support, as many were furloughed and lacked access to systems needed for terminations. 4. Jurisdiction and relief requested. The judge rejected the government's argument that the court lacked jurisdiction over federal employment decisions, at least for purposes of issuing a TRO. The TRO prohibits any further reduction in force (RIF) at agencies involving union-represented employees until further court action. In her hearing, Judge Ilston challenged the government's attorney to explain the legal basis for the layoffs, but reportedly, the counsel was not prepared to do so. Implications and next steps. Immediate effects. The TRO pauses the layoffs for now. Affected federal workers gain temporary protection from losing their jobs pending further court proceedings. The administration must show cause why the TRO should not be extended or converted to a longer injunction. The government is likely to appeal or seek to lift the TRO, potentially advancing the matter to higher courts. Broader legal and political stakes. 1. Limits on executive power during a shutdown. This case underscores that even during a funding lapse, the executive branch does not have unfettered power to reorganize or reduce the workforce at will. Courts may intervene if statutory or constitutional lines are crossed. 2. Separation of powers, role of Congress. Large-scale reductions in force or restructuring may require congressional authority, especially for programmatic functions that Congress funds or mandates. Previously, Judge Ilston had blocked even wider plans to restructure agencies under President Trump's executive orders, reinforcing this tension. 3. Precedent for labor law or personnel disputes. The case may become a benchmark for how courts treat union challenges to sweeping executive-directed personnel actions, particularly when such actions are asserted to be politically motivated. 4. Political ramifications and public perception. The ruling is a blow to the administration's strategy of using aggressive cuts as leverage. The rhetoric around targeting programs, favored by Democrats, may further fuel accusations of partisan retaliation. It also injects uncertainty into the management of key federal programs, health, education, etc. during the shutdown. Risks and possible outcomes. The administration may succeed on appeal, get the TRO lifted, and proceed with layoffs. The court might extend the restraining order into a preliminary or permanent injunction if it finds legal violations. Ultimately, the case may reach the Supreme Court, which could set a definitive limit on executive authority in such contexts. Meanwhile, the shutdown continues, complicating both governance and negotiations in Congress over funding.